Today I'm reacting to Dandadan episode 3. The full reaction is on Patreon. Okay, so what's going on here? Who are these people? In the OP, we saw loads of different characters, so maybe this is one of them. Okay. Oh, okay, so we are going back to our guys. I wasn't sure if that was going to be like a full detour. Don't do that to her leg. Ew. So unnecessary. Okay. And then an ROP. Okay. Yeah, so there she is in ROP. I love that dancing bit. I'm so glad that after Chainsaw Man I have another dancing bit and an OP to geek out over. It's a granny versus granny clash. Okay, let's see what happens. Ah, okay, so she's a psychic who has to downplay her psychic abilities. Love how it looks like a big pencil. Okay. Okay, very much giving me a Chainsaw Man vibe, so... I love the back and forth little humor. Oh, so that is the grandmother. Very, very interesting. That does not look like a grandmother. That's an amazing shot. Oh, okay. That's an interesting one. I love how we're already getting such a strong emotional connection from her. At least he's safe and sound, relatively speaking. I love her kind of seeing into her headspace. Yeah, this is what I was talking about in the last episode, just seeing her power grow and grow and grow. Again, just love the comedy back and forth in a show like this. Oh god, look at that red. It's so gorgeous. What a sky. Okay, interesting. Whoa. Oh, that art is so cool. Love the shallow focus of Momo in the background. This is such an interesting, inciting incident for her character.
ケンさんなら100%助けるんだわ。だからうちもそうする。ケンさんっておめえ。そのガキどういう
Haha, being openly mocked by her grandma.
ターボババアと鬼ごっこしろ。そこからターボババアを市外へ誘い出せ。捕まらずにな。テリトリーから引き離せれば。
So I take it they're gonna have to take advantage of Turbo Granny being very cocky in the moment.
わしの結界術はこの土地に住む神様の力を借りてるに過ぎねえ。わしらの住む神越市を出たらこの能力は使えねえ。ターボババアを倒すにはこれしかねえ。今から体鍛えりゃ。
This is such a great way of giving us the exposition through like an actual dilemma.
ごめん忘れてた。じゃあモモを背負って走る。
綾瀬さん体重いくつですか？
おい死にてえのか？
いやー無理っすね。自分
This is such a great setup for the episode.
わしが協力できねえ以上、おめえら自身が強くなるしかねえ。メガネはすぐに筋トレ始めろ。
あ、はい。
I'm surprised that she even offered to train them to begin with.
うざいっしょ。
あのでかいやつと戦った時。正直必死すぎて自分のことしか考えられなかったです。自分も助けて化け物もやっつけて、だけど次あんなことがあったら自分が綾瀬さんを助けられるように友達を。
Oh, it's all linked to what he's going through.
幻滅なんかしないし考えすぎ。
Oh, for God's sake, it's always going to be the constant bickering between the two of them.
すいません。
かっこよかったよ。戦ってる時。でもオカルンどんくさいし、多分次の
She's cute.
今日はそこで寝て。今布団持ってくるね。
綾瀬さん。自分は喉乾いたんで。
Oh, I want to give him a hug.
この麦茶持ってっていい？
人気アイドルのショウマさんに隠し子がいることが判明しました。
And what is it gonna turns out that he's... Yeah, literally, that he's 27. I don't know what the deal is with the grandma. I just want to know why are they drawing her in this way. Yeah, this is what I was wondering. What does he do when he needs to go to the bathroom? At least there's some boundaries anyway. These moments of cell shading in the animation are... they're quite interesting to see in comparison to the more traditional style.
超能力ってもっと万能なもんかと思ってたけどよ。結構制約あんだね。超能力に目覚めた瞬間はもっとすごかったのにな。それこそイメージが全部現実になる感じっていうか無敵って感じ？要は視覚に頼ってるからダメなんだ。
Oh, interesting. She has to like yeah, exactly, focus on her senses.
そのまま目を閉じてオーラを肌で感じてみろ。ゆっくりと感じるんだ。冷たい。どう？
Interesting. Wonder why it's cold.
変身してる。ダメじゃん。やべえな。どうすんだもんこいつ脱粉すんぞ。
Oh yes, the poop.
てめえ人んちでクソしような。
Why is it such a big deal for him to use her bathroom?
屈辱的だ。今までの未知の体験に憧れてました。宇宙人に誘拐されたいとか、こんな呪いさっさと解放されたいっす。
モモ、おめえ超能力に目覚めた時無敵状態だったって言ってたな。なんでかその力は封印されてるみてえだがよ。修行で少しずつ力を解放していかなきゃならねえし、それがどのくらい時間がかかるかわからねえ。
Another limitation. Whoa! Okay, I genuinely was not expecting that. Well, we know she's not gonna die right away. She seems like a pretty well-established character. Oh, okay, so that leaves very little time to train. Oh.
マジでこれ着んの？
前見づらいんです。
I take it it's a blindfold for her?
薬療用の防弾チョッキだ。ちゃんと着とけよ。小さい頃からわしの言うことを聞きやしない。うざいうざい。ババアの小言がうるせえな。行こうかる。
Such a strange depiction of a grandma.
だよしつけえな。
Oh, cute.
死ぬなよ。
That's so nice.
お願いします。
Oh my god, that's so funny.
すいません。
I just love the show doing everything they can to make him as self-conscious as possible.
ターボババアの野郎、ボッコボコにしたるわい。
Yeah, I was thinking we were pretty much at the end of the episode. Okay, so I don't ordinarily do this, but I actually ended up rewatching the entire first half of this episode of Dandadan again, just to kind of make sure I had my head totally wrapped around the concept as to why the grandma isn't able to help them, as well as the exact powers of the Turbo Granny to begin with, and why it is we're in this mess. From watching it the first time around, I was quite surprised when the granny was saying that she's a fake medium who can't be trusted, and then of course despite the preceding fight scene, it's still something that very much lingered with me as the episode kind of went on and on and on. It's something that I realized I was wrong about with my initial reactions, so I just wanted to kind of go over that again by rewatching that bit of the episode, as well as just the exposition that we were getting with regards to why it is we need to fight the Turbo Granny in the way that we are. So this is, I mean, as anyone could guess, very much a setup for the fight. Even I just saw that the next episode is going to be called Kick Turbo Granny's Ass, so I mean that pretty much confirms it. I liked the idea of this episode, but I also kind of just liked it in the way that it felt deserved that we get this whole episode kind of more or less dedicated to exposition, whilst also seeing the character of the granny herself, who looks insanely young. So I guess there isn't a huge amount that I necessarily need to go through with the plot, however, given that this was just basically establishing the fact that we have a lot of work to do until the two of our guys as a duo are strong enough to really fight these monsters together. So it's very much, how could you say it? If you were to say that the first episode is our big inciting incident and our call to action and crossing of the threshold, then this is us very much still in the beginning stages of Act 2 of the season storyline, in which we're going through our trials, we're learning more information, we're learning more about ourselves. It's very much the fun and games category with regards to the overall plot arc for this season. Now, this is in the opinion of someone who literally did not even hear of Dandadan until about 5 days ago, so I have no familiarity with the manga whatsoever. This is just kind of going on my intuition based on what it is that I've been seeing thus far. I think that, so how would I describe Dandadan 3 episodes in? Well, I think it's primarily a fun action show is what they are going forward. Of course, they have the elements of the fantasy and the supernatural there as well. I mean, there are the elements of the fan service that, they're present in this episode, but I don't find them to be the most egregious. I mean, I think it's just kind of cringy to have so many close-up shots of the grandmother's cleavage, and that's really not a sentence I thought I'd be saying today when I started this series, but it's not the absolute worst thing in the world. I think a lot of it is, it's being portrayed in a tongue-in-cheek way. Whether or not it being tongue-in-cheek kind of makes it fully justifiable is a totally different question, but I just kind of like the dynamic between these two characters, that both of them seem to be very archetypical, but that's not being used in a pejorative sense, because the show really commits to having the girl as being the contrarian, as being something of a wild spirit, being very, very headstrong and self-assured, versus Okarun, who, of course, very much is the meeker of the two of them, and seems to be way more self-conscious and self-doubting, self-deprecating within his own head, but still very much stands up for himself in his own right, and has strong desires and strong philosophies that he sticks to. So they make a good couple in that way, the way they balance each other out like that. Having the mentor, senpai character of the grandmother. It's nice to kind of finally have that. It works for the characters, and then also it works for the audience, having a little bit of a voice for the audience, like someone to say, hey, you guys are pretty crazy, aren't you? That whole dynamic. But in general, how would I think about the first 3 episodes? I definitely like it. I still think it's perhaps a little bit too early days to try to discern exactly how I feel about it. But, you know, I'm not, as you've told from kind of seeing my reactions on this channel before, I'm not really that inclined of just like immediately jumping into deciding whether or not this anime is a 7 or an 8 or a 9. Well, first of all, I don't even do that once I've reached the end of the season, but certainly not in the middle of it. But what I will say is that so far I'm enjoying what's happening. I'm enjoying the pacing. I think that the action sequences are done. I think the animation is just absolutely stunning. It's like production wise, it really is a nice treat for me. That's how I would describe it. I think that there's a suitable enough intrigue for us to see what's going to happen, not just with the next episode, but all the succeeding. I'm going to assume that the Turbo Granny storyline isn't going to be excessively long. I doubt it's going to stretch on past another episode or two, because the reason I say that is because there's been so much care put into kind of establishing these characters and giving them a bit of personality that I doubt it's just going to have everything centered on Okuran just getting back to his normal self again by finally defeating the Turbo Granny after so many attempts. I don't think it's going to be that stretched out, but if they were to do that, I think that maybe they'd be able to make that work. I guess there's really only one way to see, and with that, I think I want to bring this review segment to a close. So if you are a supporter of mine for free here on YouTube, or maybe you're a patron of mine, either way, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day and giving my channel a chance. It is so appreciated. I'm quite liking Dandadan so far. Still not really sure how much I like it yet, but I just think it's too early days for something like that. I think it's, like, tonally, of course, it's extremely different from Uzumaki, but even from the likes of Chainsaw Man, I still think it's way more on beat humor-wise. A lot of the humor from Chainsaw was offbeat and a bit more irreverent and dark. This does have, you know, kind of somewhat dark subject matters, you could say, at time, but I wouldn't say that this is a show with dark sense of humor, because dark sense of humor, it's not just like edgy humor or something like that. If anything, this kind of has a bit more edgy, juvenile kind of shock factory humor than Chainsaw Man, but it's not humor that I would describe as being dark and dry or very kind of sardonic, which is what I really appreciate from Chainsaw Man. And not to say that I don't appreciate the humor in this as well. I think it's just different, and I'm interested to see what happens next with it. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thanks for watching.